At first glance, Outpost Zimonja gives the impression of a settlement full of vibrancy and life, the ideal place to raise a family. From the central rocket ride to the toys and sweets that scatter the common areas, it is evidently meant to appeal to children. So let's take a deeper look and see how it stands up to scrutiny. Upon entering the gate, we encounter the curiously named pharmacy. Ooh, me bits! The main counter reveals only a penchant for amassing human bones, and its eccentric proprietor sheds little further light on the rather niche wares. Aside from the grisly remains, the only other products on display appear to be some bags of fertiliser, blood, weaponry, industrial strength Abraxo cleaner, and rat poison. Every successful wasteland community needs an accommodating approach to citizenship, right? Let's not get bogged down by the quirks of a single resident. To the right are two outhouses, one of which is a disabled toilet. Evidently, and quite rightly, inclusivity is important here. Some poor child has mislaid their toy alien. Let's take it and drop it off at the information kiosk in a bit. Directly above Umi Bits is the bar and quarters occupied by some displaced railroad agents. The bar serves basic drink, and the only food available appears to be the infamous food paste. The facilities, a somewhat open plan, but hey, who cares after a few drinks with friends? So long as the small congregation of gnomes just outside the curtain doesn't make me bladder shy, it does the job. The back room is used by affiliates of the railroad, and their devotion to lighthouses clearly stems from happy memories of finding sanctuary within the Mercer Safe House at Kingsport. I mean, who doesn't love a lighthouse? But perhaps a strobe light in a bedroom is a tad OTT. Certainly, the resident Brotherhood of Steel fanboys have been quick to mock the inhabitants' love of these beacons and have annotated the wall accordingly. Through the rear door is a small patio where food and drink can be enjoyed as the turrets and tooled-up Brotherhood wannabes rain fire on foolish rust devils. Coming back out, we'll head to the information kiosk, which doubles as a more orthodox store. The bear with the sore head has been pompeyed within the building since the bombs fell, and the Brotherhood aspirants have been busy with their lettering again. I'm not sure either poetry or humour is their forte, but the number of atomic wedgie incidents has definitely reduced since they became letter louts. Round the corner, we see this society encourages supporting one another, and a sign directs you to check out a local meeting. Let's take a look. Oh, it seems we've been pranked again. I'm not at all sure this trickery meets an acceptable standard of behaviour, lads. Next door is a dance venue run by our flamenco specialist, but we'll return to that in a bit. Above this whole central area is the now defunct fairground ride, which still exudes a cheery appeal and provides a focal point visible for miles around. Going back down, the kiosk's welcoming, bright and cosy interior shows it to be the heart of the settlement and the gateway to the rest of the entertainment on offer. Again, kids' toys are abundant. A teddy rides a straw goat. A baby's rattle has been handed in. Oh, that reminds me, I've an alien to deposit. Right, time to brace ourselves and pay a visit to Beavers and Buttheads' quarters. You will note they've found it highly amusing to decorate the outside, warning passing giants that there's a risk of decapitation and driving the point home with a hapless mannequin. The dog kennel has also been embellished to the point that both the settlement canines avoid it like the plague. Going inside, they've foregone beds of traditional construction, preferring a more utilitarian and basic approach to decor. And upon seeing the sign one has mounted at the head of their bed, they've also lost any sense of decorum. Time to beetle off in search of more soothing home design. But first, let's take a look at this charming tableau of giddy-up buttercups foraging for carrots. The health and safety rep is studiously reading a sign that will never be relevant to these diminutive ponies, but you have to admire its dedication to the role. Rounding the corner, we see that not all inhabitants are so law-abiding. Here, the admonishment not to smoke, presumably due to the proximity of Mr. Handyfuel, is utterly disregarded, and indeed a whole shelf is dedicated to smoking paraphernalia. Our next house is occupied by Tina DeLuca and other former vault dwellers, who still have mixed feelings about life up top. This has led to a rather confused and eclectic style, where vault meets boxcar. Tina's housemates run a small commissary beneath the accommodation, largely trading in Vault-Tec memorabilia. Ascending the ramp, we find ourselves in a room with a magnificent window. The interior privileges function over style, but at least the residents have a nice dining area. Through the door, we find a second room, which has an open fire that seems rather ostentatious and incongruous, but who am I to say what's normal in these post-apocalyptic times? Out on the terrace, it's always Christmas, and a relaxing time can be had by all, visits from angry Deathclaws permitting. The nearby beta wave transmitter isn't the most reliable gadget, since our friends next door fired it out of a junk mortar. Leaving via the front steps, we have another outhouse and a second guard post. The next building we come to has a sign saying screening, but the signage suggests there are washing facilities within, although who knows if they're quite as we might expect. Decontamination arches. I guess that kills two birds with one stone and accounts for the descriptions. Some absolute plank has tried to titivate the interior with neon lights and a Zeta Invaders projection. The damn fool needs to realise that lights and projectors don't mix. Exiting the showers, we'll head to the home of the Doctor, the final residence here. The Doctor has placed sweets and gifts for the local children to take as they want. A sign beside the door advertises candy within. But when did any of us last see a child here? Unfortunately, the sign below does little to reassure visitors. Going inside, the interior looks somewhat unusual, even by wasteland standards of doctoring though. The doorway is bracketed by funeral urns, and even the most reckless of parents surely would never place a crib abutting a roaring fire. Yet again, sweets and toys punctuate the scene, but why? It's eerily devoid of young voices here. Has Great-Grandpa Gamer, aka GGG, raced from the slog in his oversized giddy-up buttercup machine and taken them for a better life? Or is something more sinister going on? It's only once we return outdoors that we start to see things that suggest a much more disturbing narrative exists here at Outpost Zimonja. Beneath the house lie meat bags. Adjacent is a disgusting stove, and lurid pink food paste of no discernible origin. There are also raider cages. We must investigate forthwith. Attracted by the light of the world's most impossible Rubik's Cube, a title earned largely because it is A, a planter, and B, has a whacking great baseball statue in the topmost vase, we espy Flamingo dancing. The ever cerebrally challenged bros have confused Flamingo and flamenco and inadvertently established a small breeding colony. Never mind, unfulfilled thoughts about breeding do in fact take up the majority of their waking brain activity, so no harm, no foul, with a U, not a W. Obviously, foul with a W are very much present. So it seems the source of the pink food paste is not our feathered friends. Back to the drawing board. From this vantage point, a rather startling scene presents itself. The postman, Hugh Jardon, and our resident's dance tutor, Felicity, aka Flick de Bean, are getting rather intimate. It seems this is not an isolated incident either, as the lads have again doctored the notice board with their witticisms. But I digress. In all the excitement, we missed a vital clue. Now, I'm no Miss Marple, but a large neon sign at kiddie head height with teddy bears peeking out has a fairly niche audience, I suspect. As we approach... Gosh, that was a bit fierce. So the sweet-natured info auntie isn't as benign as she seems, but I suspect she is acting in concert with the good doctor, and maybe they are both even in cahoots with others. Time to press on. And so we reach the doctor's first aid station. More urns are strewn atop the stand. Above the bait of sweets, a sinister sign reveals the motive and the reason GGG had to rescue those brats. Sorry, those poor childers. Evidently, GGG's mercy mission with the Grand Metal Gigi had had some unintended consequences that perfectly fitted the murderous doctor's food pasty agenda. Unable to discern who was complicit in the plan to barbecue the youngsters, GGG had rescued the Waynes in the dead of the night. The parents, overcome with a sense of peace, The parents, overcome with a sense of grief, had turned to gambling and smoking and voyeurism, exhibitionism, dancing with birds, but strangely not alcohol particularly. These parents obviously sought medical advice and were informed that a new drug that worked miracles with depression, addiction, and inconveniently noticing your children were missing had been stocked at the pharmacy Oomy Bits. Alas, the drug was none other than common or garden rat poison, aka Oomy Tummy. The cannibalistic chemist, the dastardly doctor, and the... my brain is buffering for alliterative titles. The acetylene Auntie were acting in concert, poisoning residents and cooking them into food paste, and making amazing blood and bone meal from the remains, which I guess accounts for the size of the mute fruit trees. So, 3 cheers for GGG and his magic horsey, and a big pat on the back for you who stayed the course and solved the mystery of the absent crotch goblins. Huzzah!